Tank Journey. Welcome back to my basket case, and it really is a basket case. It's the Raleigh is giving me a hard time, and so is the videoing. So I thought I'd better get this episode out of the road. This is a hodgepodge of GoPro footage because I found it, and iPhone footage, and the GoPro footage is shocking. So look, it's disassembling the bike, getting ready for powder coating, and talking about the wheels and a couple of other things I found out. I hope you enjoy it, and please forgive the poor quality of the footage.
Well, here's the Raleigh, and it's apart, and I'm just about to continue stripping it and just start sorting out what I've got and what I haven't got. So yesterday I took the wheels to a local tyre place and they pulled the tyres off. Sadly the tyres are in almost new condition, tread-wise, but I've got tyre rot because they haven't been used for years and years and years and years. So I've got the rims. I'm going to take the spokes out of them and get them blasted and powder coated, as well as the hubs. Going to do the same with the rest of the bike. I've had a couple of victories and a couple of failures, I think, in this time of looking at the bike. So I had a victory in that I found more of the carburettor. I was missing the top and the slide. Now, weirdly, the slide and the top were attached to the throttle cable that was tucked up under the seat. Now, sadly, the top is partly broken, but I'm hoping I can fix that. The slide is rough, but is all there. So I'm hoping I can make a result there. So that was a good result. At this period of the build, I think I always find a few things that I think, oh, didn't know that. So the rims are mismatched for me. So that makes me think they're not original rims. They've certainly had new tyres put on them, and they've got tape on them that indicates, they're not original, and that's okay. That's cool. But the front rim the rear rim is dimpled, and the front rim is not dimpled. So it tells me someone replaced the rim at some stage. I can probably live with that, I think. Don't know, not sure. The rear guard, now the rear guard is not right. Let me pick that up for you. So here's the rear guard. Now it's a very soft metal, and it's been beaten in with a hammer to get it to go in between the guards, the rear stays, and it's been cut off with an angle grinder or a pair of tin snips, and it's crooked, and it just isn't the right guard. I'm almost positive. And even if it is, it's a really beaten up example. It's also too wide for me, I think. When I look at the wheels, and the tyres are 2.5 to suit 2 1/4 rims, or 2.5 to suit 2.5 rims. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The guard's probably 5 inches. Says to me that something's wrong and the guard's too big for the tyres that were on it, and too big to go in the rear part of the frame, and just not right. So it's not the end of the world. Fortunately, I've got a couple of pattern guards that I think are about 1 inch narrower, and I think that'll look much, much better onto the rear of the bike, and I'm going to use one of those. So I'm going to get that blasted. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but once you start looking closer, you start looking at it and thinking, that's not quite right. Anyway, the rest of the bike has turned on really well, and I'm really pleased. There's not too much that's horrible. The oil pump concerns me greatly, and I've looked deeper into that, and it's certainly going to be a little bit problematic. I've put some feelers out on Facebook and social media to try and find a Raleigh interest group. There'll be one, I would have thought, in the UK or even in Australia, to sort out the oil pump issues. Long way down the track, and we've got a long way to go before then. So you have victories and you have losses. Certainly when you get a bike home, you start looking closer and you think, didn't see that. So it's okay, you just got to keep moving forward. Other than that, it's a good result. I'm going to work on getting this apart and creating a pile of the parts that are on the bike and parts that I've got in tubs for the blaster. Come with me. The first thing I did was get the gearbox out of the frame, and it came out pretty well. It certainly answers a few of my questions about how a few things work. The gearbox looks to be in pretty reasonable condition, and as I go I think I'm going to start to identify parts that fit on it, or at least I'm hoping to. Certainly the unusual sprockets that I found that have large cutouts in the back are to bolt on to the back of your clutch. You can take sprockets on and off the back of the clutch, and I think I've got one down here. There's one. So that goes into those 4 holes that are just there, and you can replace the sprocket on the back of the clutch. Now I've not seen that before. Maybe it's something that's really common in some makes of bike. So I have several sprockets, and some of them are in better condition than others. Certainly this one doesn't appear as worn as the one that's on the clutch. So that was really interesting to find as I went, and it wasn't until I was pulling the box apart or pulling the box off the frame that I thought, wow, that's what those unusual sprockets are for, where I thought somebody had hacked out the holes. But they haven't at all. That's not what they're about. Amazing. So sadly I'm having a few little camera issues while I'm trying to record and work at the same time. Thought people might like to see it. Anyway, I've got the seat to the point that it's coming off. Been a difficult little job. The bolt on the top mount here, not only does it have a nut on it, but it's threaded on one side. I've been caught before, so I didn't beat the hell out of it. The seat I've unbolted at the top of the frame, and I don't know, it's not a bad looking little seat. It's been a recover. Just dropped a nut on the floor. Pick it up. It's been recovered. Again, I'll probably put everything back where it came from. I've got to go tomorrow and get some baggies, lunch bags, to start bagging bolts and nuts up, so that they can go back where they came from. You saw when I was doing the unpack of the, can't talk and do it at the same time, too hard, the unpack of the boxes of goods, how great it was to have things that are well packed. Mosquitoes are bad in the shed. Interestingly, on the saddle, I didn't realise this, but springs for saddles are left-handed and right-handed. For the springs to end up in the same point, it was only shown to me by a seat restorer not that long ago. The seat doesn't look in bad condition. I'm going to take all of this off the bottom and get all of this blasted, but I think I'll paint all that so that it allows the springs to move a little bit freer, because they're kind of painted together. Removing the rear carrier didn't put up a great fight. The more I see of it, the less I like of it. I'm not even sure that it's original, but it just doesn't look right, this bit on the back. Just something about it doesn't appeal to me. It's only held on to 2 bolts. One's really quite beaten up. The bolt, the head of the bolt is really rounded over. So I'll look to replace that, and I've got plenty of cycle thread bolts. So there's the carrier off the bike. I will get it blasted, and I will get it primed, and I'll think about it. Not having a great run with the camera tonight. Found my GoPro, but not using it to its full effect. So anyway, I've got the rear stand off, bolts back in, seats off, and I'm moving in the right direction. I think it's dark, too many mosquitoes, and time to call it stumps for the night. Back tomorrow. It's day 2 of disassembly, and I've gone back to shooting with the iPhone because I had a bit of trouble with the GoPro. So the previous footage was shit. I'm really sorry about that, and I'm sorry I've got the bike nearly completely pulled apart and haven't brought you along for the ride. Really interesting stuff overnight for me. Contacted someone through Facebook, through a Facebook group I'm in, who's a Raleigh specialist, who identified a few things for me that I'd already given thought to. So the front wheel is the incorrect wheel, it appears. Raleigh's came with 32 spoke front wheels. This is a 40 spoke front wheel, and it is undimpled and was probably a 32 spoke front wheel, I'm told, and was probably dimpled. I think I'm going to live with it. I think 40 spoke and 40 spoke will be all right. If I ever come across the correct front wheel, then it's not a big deal to change them over. For now, I think it's okay. The chap who messaged me also identified that the rear stand was incorrect. And yeah, look, when I looked at it last night, I thought, is it right? Isn't it right? It's certainly very heavy. Maybe it came off something else, maybe it's homemade. If it's homemade, they've done quite a good job. Again, I think I can live with it. I'm not going to lose sleep unless one magically appears out of the woodwork somewhere. It certainly saves me making one, because that's what I'd have done if I couldn't find one. He also thought the carburettor is incorrect for the bike. So I'd really be fascinated. I've got video of the carburettor. If anybody can tell me what that carburettor's off, maybe it's of enormous use to someone else, because it's quite a cute little thing and an unusual little thing. When I looked at it originally, I thought, oh, you look like a Douglas carburettor. And perhaps it's off a 350 Douglas, I don't know. Perhaps that's why. This chap suggested that all Raleigh carburettors were on a screw-in spigot. Now there is a screwed-in spigot into the barrel with an adapter to take a regular carburettor mount, I suppose is what I'd call it. So I don't know whether I need a new carburettor or not, but I don't think that that's a big deal. I'm also suspect on the parcel rack. I don't think it's quite right. I don't know whether it's Raleigh or whether it's just my dislike of parcel racks. Although with a picnic basket on it and a couple of soft drinks or a couple of beers in it, they'd be pretty handy, I reckon. Other than that, the contact with the fellow in England is really good, and he seems really friendly, and he would appear to be a Raleigh specialist. So I've sent him engine and frame and gearbox numbers, and he's going to help me identify the exact year and the exact model. And then, if I've been really honest, I'm actually pleased to find out the things that are not correct about the bike, because it helps if you ever want to sell it. You get to 100 years old and not enough people can remember whether something's right or not. Now for me, looking at the front wheel and the back wheel, the alarm bell goes off because there's dimples and no dimples. Once I got it home, I didn't notice it when I bought it. But you sort of start looking at it and thinking, oh, I'd really love to know what was right and what was not right, so that you can better represent the bike if you ever want to sell it. I'm a believer in the old karma, goes around, comes around. Looking at some images online last night, actually it was a bike for sale in the UK. I worked out what this little heavily nickeled piece was. Now, for those that remember my reveal video and showing you what it was, this little piece had been re-nickel plated and been attached, still attached to the wire. Now, I think it goes in there and that goes on there. Whoops. I think that goes together like that. And when it's all bolted together, it will pull the clutch. It's the clutch actuation arm. And it does, and weirdly enough, it popped out the clutch rod that I didn't know was sitting on the other side of the gearbox. So that was a pretty good outcome. And it's amazing how, you're seeing this in real time. You're seeing this as I'm working stuff out. So I've got boxes and boxes of parts, and you look at something and you have no idea what it's for. Just none. So to have that come to light, I was pretty pleased. Now I know the victories are small, but to me they matter a lot. When I got this engine, I think I noted to you that it was threaded on the outside, and I didn't know what it was for. Now, last night I'm going through some stuff here and looking at the spare engine I've got, or the bottom end and the spare cases, and lo and behold, here's the dust shield on the outside of one of the engines. So this is left-handed thread. Read the instructions on the thing. And I assume it has a cloth dust seal that goes in behind it to keep dust out of the engine. So, you know, victory for me, as far as I'm concerned, to have the correct dust seal cover on the engine is a really good thing. Just turn the engine back around. The whole oil pump thing is still a great mystery to me, but it will unfold over time. So I'm going to push on and get back to disassembling some of the bike. I'm a great fan of the Glad sandwich bag, and everybody does. Put their bolts in bags. And so I've just labelled these four gearbox bolts, gearbox bolt mounts. I'm going to pop them in the bag with the yellow tag, and then I'm going to clean them up. I'm a great fan of just, you know, a wire brush on a drill, on a bench grinder, and away you go. But it's in there and it's done, and you know, you're not really going to lose things. This probably needs disassembled, powder coated, and looked after. But you know, it's the top mount. It's the top mount off the gearbox. I certainly don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose any of the original hardware, so that can go in a bag as well. I won't bore you with that. I'll bring you back when I'm doing a bit more on the bike itself. It came out. So there's the rear frame stable, top mount, and there's a spacer and another spacer on the floor behind me. I'd already removed the top bolt with those little nuts that go into the springs and bagged that, and I'd removed the bolts that had held the pack rack on. So that was good. Interesting to note that this has got a bracket in it that doesn't look right. So I don't know that it's been remade, but somebody may have strengthened it, or that's where the pack rack was. Not sure whether the pack rack or the guard mount is mounted later. Not really sure, but doesn't look right. Interesting also to note a couple of spaces there that you might not normally expect. So sort of says to me, maybe there's something different about the rear end, or maybe I'm overly paranoid. Anyway, got it apart. It's a good result. I'm just about to pull this bottom bracket out, and out it comes. Easy peasy. Off comes the phone. There's another spacer. And there's the gearbox plates. With a little bit of persuasion. They'll come off. So that wasn't overly difficult to get off. But I do think this bike has been well and truly apart and then put back together, but never had anything done with it other than it went rusty. Really important to get the nuts back on where they came from, get them in bags. Can't emphasise enough. Spent $3 on 50 sandwich bags and $4 on post-it notes. And you think you're going to remember, but you never do. You never remember. Can't see much in my head, which is a good thing. I've got the bars loose. It's just like a bicycle. You just undo the head stem nut and loosen it off, and there's a wedge down in the fork. Give the bolt a tap and the fork drops down. I've been through and loosened off nearly everything in the forks. All the bolts have come undone reasonably easily, I'd say. I don't think any of them have caused too much grief. Some spun a little bit, but most have come undone reasonably easy. Because I think, you know, again, I know I'm harping on it, but the bike was pulled apart, cleaned up, put back together, and most of it is, you know, the way it was left for X number of years. I'm pretty pleased as I've pulled it apart. I don't see anything really horrible. None of the shafts appear really worn, and nothing's, well, sometimes when you pull things apart, they're very hard to get apart, like they've been forced into place. I haven't found that here. Things are not forced in, he says. There's that one's still at the top. So, you know, if things are bent, it can be hard to get them out, but that doesn't appear to be the case here. Everything appears to go in and out pretty good, and all of the nuts and that appear to come off pretty good. So I'm gonna clear some bench space, lay this frame down, and see if I can get the front end off without making too much mess. I've got to turn the camera on, but I've just removed these two bars that ran between, just underneath the seat stand and the front of the down tube of the frame. The tank mounts to them, and I did a removable bar. Weird. I haven't seen that before, but it's kind of cool. So they've come out really easily. Dirty great big bolt that holds them in the front, and then they go on the other bolt at the back. So I'll get this stuff bagged up and then get onto the front end and try and show you a bit of it even. I've iced away and got the front girder out without you. You'll have to get over it. Interestingly, and I did know it, I suppose, and obviously the one without the nut on it that's been sitting in there the whole time is a left-handed thread, and it's threaded into the connecting arm. The others all came out okay, bear with me, and are sitting good. So the bottoms don't appear to be threaded at all, when I thought one of them should be. Where's the other bottom one? That's the top. So it was a little bit confusing. There is a thin thread on that one, so perhaps one side of the bottom is threaded, maybe at the bottom. The top, certainly one side of them is threaded, and it's threaded left hand, and that's on the left hand side. So wasn't super hard to work it out and to get it out. I assume it's a safety feature. I've seen it before. No doubt I'll see it again. Just took a little bit of getting my head around. Now they are marked left and right, so that makes life a bit easier. So you know which one came from where. These were opposite ways around. Don't really know why, but they were. I'm going to crack on, get the rest of this broken apart, and it's ready to go off to the blaster. There's the teardown pretty much complete. And it's moments like these you sort of question what you've actually bought. Because you look at it and you think, how much did I pay for that? Anyway, I've elected to rip the spokes out of the wheels. I measured the offsets, cut the spokes out, removed them all, and I've pulled the front hub has 2 ball bearings at it, and I'll replace them. The rear hub is cup and cone. Now, one cone came out really simply with a tap from the other side. This cone does not come out because this is well in there. Now, I hit it as hard as I felt comfortable to hit it, and it doesn't come out. So I'm going to tape it up and send it off for blasting, and then clean it out thoroughly when it gets back. I can probably live with that. Everything else is kind of good, and I'll accept that I'll have to clean paint and stuff out of things. Some stuff I'm going to go for powder, and some stuff I'm going to go for paint.
There you go. That's Flat Tank Journey for another week. The bike came apart really well, but I don't think it had been put together and tightened up and run or anything. I think it had been, you know, a project someone was working on, so it hadn't lived out in the weather for 60 years and not been apart. The bike's, as I said, given me a little bit of a hard time at the minute, and I'm a little bit in front of you. Next week we'll push on and start putting things back together, because the powder coating, I sent it away and it came back in a couple of days, so it's all good. Anyway, cheers. Have a good one.